Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for our weekly track roundup, where I go into what I felt were the best and the worst tracks of the week. Just as a reminder here, if you are looking for me to talk about that new Kendrick track, Humble, I did a standalone track review for that. That will be linked down there in the description box as well, or you can just check my recent uploads. It's sitting over there. Yeah, just want to let you guys know that. Cool? Cool, because I'm not going to be talking about it deeply in this video. Okay? Okay. Before we get into the list over here, I just want to say that not the usual spot we shoot these videos in. I get that. Basically, some personal time constraints have put me in a position where I cannot really edit this video or render it in time for it to be up by midnight, and I usually like to get these out on Sundays, so, this is just going to be kind of in the raw, in this spot, and it's, it's dark out right now, so I can't, like, shoot by the sun, by the window, so we're making do over here, okay? We're making do. But believe me, this is still going to be an amazing video. Having said that, make sure to hit up our Amazon Associates link down there in the description. Anything you buy on Amazon, if you live in the U.S., we get kickback from it. Does not add to your overall price. Expect and enjoy the many moments I mess up in this video. And also, down there in the description, you will catch under this video and under every future best and worst tracks video, I hope, our page over at the website Turntable Lab. The good people over at Turntable Lab have hooked us up with their little associates program. Anything you buy off of our page or after you've clicked that link that's down there in the description, we get kickback from that. It's just like the Amazon Associates thing. But over there at Turntable Lab, it's turntables, it's vinyl, it's preamps, it's all sorts of stuff that you need for kind of the vinyl collector lifestyle. And there's like information over there for people who are starting and, beginning to get into record collecting. I myself have some information and have given you guys information on this stuff in the past, but it's not like I've tried every brand of record player. It's not like I'm an expert in all the newest, latest brands and models that come out. I have my Technics, I have my amp, I have my speakers that I have chosen that I'm sticking with, and I'm good. I'm good, so I'm not like always in the market for new turntable stuff. These guys kind of keep things up to date. They're always onto the new thing. The layout in the store is really good. I'm not going to talk too much about it here because this isn't a sponsorship or anything like that. But if you are interested in, checking out the site, getting into vinyl, getting into turntables, because I get questions about it all the time, hit up the people at Turntable Lab, see if they got something you want, use that link, we'll get kickback from it, and that's all. That's all. All right, let's get into the tracks. Raw! Real rugged and raw! Getting into these tracks, as usual, worst tracks of the week first. There'll be a few interesting ones in here. I think that you guys will find surprising landed in this section. Unfortunately, there were so many tracks in here that I wanted to like, and I just didn't care for. Starting with this new YG track, Pop It, Shake It, DJ Mustard on the beat, and God, it is one of YG's worst tracks in a long time. Not only is this hook trash, but there are some of his worst lyrics in a while on here, though. I did appreciate the bar about her being vegan, but she's still thick. I appreciated that. As a thick vegan myself, I appreciated that. There were a few bars here and there that I thought were kind of funny, but this is just like YG punching way below his weight, in my opinion, especially with there being so many great, memorable, and personal bangers on his last record. Again, just punching under his weight with this one. Also kind of felt the same way about the new Slowdive song, Sugar for the Pill. No longer does the band sound as interesting or hazy or as heavenly as they used to. This just sounds like a really bland, sparse indie rock song with way too much reverb on it. There's like absolutely nothing special about the sound of this track, absolutely nothing special about the songwriting of this track. The vocals bored me to tears. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be looking forward to this Slowdive record based off of, what I've heard so far. The last track I thought was okay. I could be wrong on that. Maybe I thought it was fucking amazing and I can't remember, but I don't really recall it leaving that much of an impression on me. But having said that, next, even though this isn't a full track, I do confidently feel like I can place it in the worst tracks of the week section. That would be this new single, preview single. It's preview. It's not the full track. Preview. I heard a preview of this track, of this new Calvin Harris song, Heatstroke, featuring Young Thug and Pharrell and Ariana Grande. Young Thug sounds way too sober on this song. Way too sober. Sounds like he was actually sober for 3 days and then recorded this song. Because when he was singing and rapping on this track, there was like no slurring in his voice. He was like super clean and straightforward. It's almost like what he usually does on a track is just to put on, and this is what he sounds like when he's just talking normally. It was actually kind of like a really weird moment. It was sort of like I don't know, seeing a picture of one of your favorite celebrities pooping or something. It just kind of reminds you that they're just kind of like probably a regular person at the end of the day, and not just like a weird, lanky, wily stoner man. But yeah, that was just not a good sound. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Again, it's just a preview, but based off of the 1 minute and 40 seconds I heard of this track, I'm not interested in hearing the rest of it. Dan Auerbach of Black Keys fame has a new solo album on the way, and the lead single attached to a sickeningly cutesy music video, the track Shine On Me. Dan. From the perspective of someone who deeply loves a lot of the Black Keys early work, let me just say, please leave the sickeningly cute grocery store Urban Outfitters indie pop crossovers for M. Ward. He has that market cornered. He's already doing it as well as you can do it, which is not well at all, mind you, but as well as you can do it. Yeah, I don't want to hear this while I'm in the cereal aisle, and that's where it's going to end up. We all know that's where this leads. That is where this leads, because that's where I hear M. Ward's music playing, in the cereal aisle, and that's where this is going to go. And we don't want to go there. So I'm just saying it. That's where it's going. Moving on, G-Eazy and Carnage, they have a new EP out. And G-Eazy sounds hilariously bad on this new track. I think there was a line about her like putting his dick on someone's face. He sounds like a Macklemore who is trying to be naughty, trying to be so naughty. You naughty Macklemore who says more bad words. You're such a naughty Macklemore who swears more. You're such a naughty little Macklemore who swears a lot more. You little cute Macklemore who swears a lot more, aren't you? Yeah, that's basically the gist I'm getting off of this track. The hook is pretty grimy, but a G-Eazy verse is a verse I do not want to sit through. But finally, what I felt was the worst track of the week, most obnoxious track of the week, is this new huge collaborative cut, a song basing it straight off of the people involved in it. I thought I would have loved it, but this new track from Sufjan Stevens, Bryce Dessner, Nico Muhly, and James McAlister. A lot of big names there. A lot of big names. I know I've enjoyed a lot of Sufjan's music. I know I've enjoyed a lot of Nico's music. I do like some of the Nationals' earlier stuff. But goddamn, this is a really maximalist, weird, experimental, electronic piece with terrible auto-tuned lead vocals that I just cannot stand to listen to. It makes Dan Deacon's music sound reserved. I guess I'll say that much. Makes Dan Deacon sound like he plays it a little too safe, in terms of like, just pushing it a little too far and just being generally annoying. It sounds kind of experimental. I get that they're trying to be sort of adventurous on this one, but it did not sit with me very well at all, and I am not looking forward to listening to this thing again on a full-length album, to be completely honest. But that's the worst tracks of the week for me. Let's just move on to the tracks I felt like are worth mentioning, but I'm not like insane about. Freddie Gibbs, Alexys. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying this track is terrible. Production from Bad Bad Not Good and Kaytranada on this one. It's not a bad track, you know. I'm just sort of anticipating maybe it'll hit me a little bit harder in the context of the record. The beat did not go quite as hard as I anticipated it to, though it does have a nice jazzy flavor to it. And Freddie, his performance seemed a little off on this track. Not only topically does it seem kind of run-of-the-mill for him, but there are a few moments on here where the beat strips back and he tries like rapping faster or just like really putting a spotlight on his flow. And there are a few moments where, not that he can't rap on beat or on tempo, but it seems like he packed 1, 2, or 3 too many syllables in a line or two, so then his bar goes like a little longer than it obviously should have. I'm not exactly sure why, but the performance just seemed off on this one. Seemed like he could have come out of this track with a better take, a better rewrite, and it would have been a more solid track. The Underachievers have a new track out titled Headright, which is pretty grimy, pretty lo-fi. Didn't blow me away or anything like that, but if you're, looking for more material from them and hopefully maybe an album or something around the corner, look that up. Mary J. Blige has a new single out featuring Kanye West, which is not only a very good performance from Mary J., one of the better ones I've heard in a while, but also this beat has a bit of a, like a kind of 2000s hip-hop R&B quality to it, which of course Kanye like fits on like a glove. This is very much like the old Kanye on this beat, even though he is making reference to contemporary or sort of newer things going on in his life. But it does very much have that old school flavor to it. If you want to sort of get a bit of a time machine to go back to college dropout or late registration Kanye, this is definitely the track to do it, because Kanye's verse is pretty good. And again, Mary J's performance is fine as well. Don't know if I'm going to be blown away by whatever record she comes out with in the future, but take notice. Seems like they're putting out some good quality stuff here. Broken Social Scene has a new track out titled Halfway Home. It's not a bad cut, though it does seem like Broken Social Scene as usual in a lot of ways. It's kind of that straightforward, slick, sweet indie rock with a lot of instrumentation behind it. Has that grand sort of presentation to it that's pretty nice on the ears. Forrest Swords has a new album out around the corner. Arms Out is sort of a very new, somewhat lush, experimental, and very strange instrumental to come out of this forthcoming record. That doesn't sound too bad. Anthrax has a new cover of Kansas's Carry On My Wayward Son out that is very true to the original. So true to the point where it's like, what? Why'd you even record this? I mean, aside from the slightly newer and punchier and more modern, slicker production, there's like not much to this song that kind of differentiates it from the original. You'd think they go fucking full-on thrash with it, but they really just kind of pulled it back a little bit and just kind of stuck to the original blueprint. And if you're morbidly curious and an Anthrax fan and you're looking forward to this, looks like it's going to be on some kind of like Leftovers B-sides album, could potentially land on. Give this thing a shot rather. Messing up still. And finally, in this segment, I want to mention the new Amber Coffman track, No Coffee. I know a lot of people have sort of been anticipating Amber released something in the wake of the latest Dirty Projectors record, considering sort of how personal that was a record for David and how that sort of went into the relationship that sort of crumbled between him and Amber. And while there are some notes of love and kind of a relationship on the rocks kind of thing going on this track, people could relate it to that. Could be another relationship. I didn't read that deeply into the lyrics. Could potentially be. That's all I'm saying. If you're looking for that sort of thing, you may in fact find it. But what sort of struck me the most about this track is that Amber really goes into like a 60s, 70s vocal, like not vocal, 60s, 70s vintage vocal pop thing. It's got a bit of a pop soul sound to it. That the instrumentation is a little rickety, but I think her vocals like really lend themselves to this sound. Like if the instrumentation were a bit more lush, I think it really could have made the song pop. But her vocal performance on the track is very good, and I didn't know, her vocal versatility could go in that direction. It is a decent song, it's a decent ballad. Definitely give it a shot, give it a listen. It's a pretty tune. And finally, I want to get into what I thought were the best tracks of the week. Just a handful over here of songs that really wowed me. I want to give a shout out to this new Nathan Fake song, SmallCityLights. This is a really hyper, texturally overwhelming and somewhat kind of glitchy electronic piece that definitely has me interested in what Nathan is doing on this new record of his. It's very exciting. It's very, again, hyper. It's very, I would say, futuristic, and just a lot going on this track. I love sort of the experimental nature of it, but there's a sort of sweetness to the synth passages that kind of make it like candy. Nice, sweet, experimental, strange candy that I like quite a bit. Joey Badass, new track out, Rockabye, 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 baby, featuring Schoolboy Q. That track, banger extraordinaire. I do think the Rockabye repetition on the hook is a little obnoxious, not one of Joey's best written hooks, though it has stuck in my head a little bit. But still, Joey's performance on the verse, monstrous. He's in your face. He's just come through like he's hungry. And Schoolboy Q, I like his approach to this verse. I mean, not only did he have some good, clever wordplay at the very start of his verse, but I love how the beat kind of just fell back a little bit, and he did like a semi-acapella thing right at the start. Really kind of gave the track a lot of dynamics because, you are kind of progressing through a lot of changes on this song. They could have easily just kind of played it straightforward and had Schoolboy Q go just as hard as Joey did on the track, but instead, he kind of built up to the aggression at the very end of his verse, which I thought was a really kind of creative move on this track. So really looking forward to Joey's record that's coming out very soon. People are telling me it leaked, and I'm hoping that, all the hype around whatever Kendrick is doing at the end of the week, his record doesn't get smothered and all that, because Joey's certainly a talented artist who you don't want to overlook, even when an artist like Kendrick is releasing on the same day. I want to give a shout out to the new Alt J track, In Cold Blood, which I thought was one of the best tracks of the week. Awesome to hear Alt J coming through with material that's a little more lively, given just how low-key their last album was. It was pretty. I did appreciate how cerebral it was, much of that album, but I'm liking that they're coming through with something a little bit more lively, a little bit more dense, a little bit more energetic. Reminds me of some of the material from their debut album, but a little more mature. And finally, I got to shout out a track I didn't think I was going to be shouting out at all, but that is the new Logic track, Everybody. A song that... And finally, I want to shout out a track that I did not think I was going to be shouting out, and that is the new Logic song, Everybody. Now, Logic, I've seen the talent. I've appreciated his music. I've always thought that he was pretty decent. I have seen the hype, but he has never stuck out that much to me. I've never thought he was terribly special. This song, however, did kind of stick out to me, not only because I thought the beat was really unique, I loved the groove of this beat, I loved how heavy the bass was, I thought how the vocals samples on this thing were chopped, were really interesting. But Logic really hones in on a topic here, and that is sort of race and racial identity, sort of honing in on everybody, it's kind of unifying people beyond race on the hook, and then sort of diving into sort of how people see him as being either black or white, because he's mixed. So he sort of comes at this with an interesting perspective, sort of painting himself as not being black enough for the black people, or being too white for the black people, being too black for the white people, sort of seeing discrimination from both sides in a way. And I think the way he explores that, but also kind of tells off people who just cannot get off the identity politics bandwagon on this track, was pretty bold. It's not a message a lot of people want to hear, but I think it's a truthful message. It's especially his truth, I think, and I loved hearing it, especially hearing it put so bluntly and put so passionately on this track. That's going to be it, guys. All of those songs linked down there in the description, along with our Amazon link, our Turntable Lab link. Hope you got some good recommendations out of this video. I will see you in the next one, and the next best and worst tracks video will be in the normal spot, I hope. So, see you later, forever.